Hi. In going and watching other people's videos, which I'm in one of those phases where I seem to be doing quite a lot of that. It's interesting, self-observing while you're doing this and just watching yourself, not trying to figure anything out. I want to speak up for simplicity here. It can be oh so very simple. It's not your mind that's going to enlighten you or be enlightened. It's not a mind thing at all. It's a heart thing. And the beauty and the simplicity of it can be just following your bliss. We have a, I don't know, call it a bliss meter inside that's constantly giving us readings. And most people don't notice it due to their outward pointing focus. They're looking at the world, they're involved in things, they're very interested in what is out there. And that just means they're not reading the meter. It doesn't mean the meter's not working. The intuitive among us contact it way before the rest of us, most of us. Because it's, I don't know, you know, there's so much been said about a sixth sense that I don't know if it's all of that, so I just call it a seventh sense. Your insides are speaking to you 24/7, all the time. And your connection with Source or with Higher Self is much more of a feeling thing. It's not a mental thing. The mind is very proud of itself, and it's good for a lot of things. We surely couldn't get through school without it. Not that school's very much these days. It's more indoctrination and programming to be good little factory workers than it is anything else. But be that as it may, mind is fun. It's loads of fun, but it just, I almost want to say it plays no part in awakening. It really doesn't. It just gets in the way. You don't need to turn it off. You don't need to fight it. You don't need any of that. You know, my way is just to ignore it. It'll shut up when it wants to. I mean, I have nice, long spaces of interior silence. And I don't question them. I don't try to figure out what brought them on or anything, because the minute I start doing that, it's gone. That's inviting mind back into the thing. And the interior noise is mental. What Higher Self or Source is sharing with us deep inside is not noise. It's presence. It's, I don't know, why try to put words on something that's beyond that? Words are very 3D. They're linear. And they're good for this domain. But if you want to rise in consciousness, then it's time to start looking elsewhere. I mean, you know, you don't go to the mind to find out what's wrong with the mind or whatever. You just, it's a turning away from so many things that's called for. And thank goodness, you know, the way of things right now is supporting us in waking up and in rising in consciousness. I don't know, you know, I don't have everything pinned down and well understood, but I'm not concerned with it. And I no longer feel the need to go after that. I too was driven for many long years, absolutely driven, as if there was nothing else in the world more important than discovering truth. Now, why am I not driven now? Let's see if I can put words to this. If you're driven, that's linear. It's from a point to a point, passing through a current point where you don't have what you're after. So it's all very linear, and it's not focused on lack, it's focused on the fullness, but it's acknowledging a lack. Well, that lack isn't real, it isn't true. And so it's a violation of truth from the start, but we don't know this, we don't see it yet. And so, now I have to say that I got a lot of this putting together done. This interior work was greatly assisted by spending endless hours pursuing my NDE hobby. It's been such a focus over decades that I finally, had to give it a name, so I called it a hobby. It's not that those people and what they said did anything for me. It was an inner resonance that enabled me to look within myself and find what they were sharing. Those folks share a heck of a lot more than what can be found in their words. They radiate a presence that has a greater self-knowledge than most, and it can open us up to our own self-knowledge. We're all mirrors for the self. I'm a mirror for you. When you look at me, see yourself. Be tuned to your own inner resonance. Okay, now why am I not searching for truth? I'm touching bases inside with what that used to feel like. And it was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun. A roller coaster-y kind of a thing. And this is distinctly different from that. In a way, I'm just playing here with words. In a way, we could say, I found truth. It gets back down to that I definition. Who am I? Because I can say, I have found truth. But when I say this, I'm speaking from a wholeness that transcends the conscious mind. The conscious mind does not have immediate access to the truth that I have found. I have found it in other aspects of my being. This is getting a little woo-woo. Okay, let me back it up and see if there's a better way to say it. Truth just is. Have you noticed the is-ness of things? There's an is-ness and a beingness. Remember how I shared with you about how the universe is Raymonding? It's Teresa-ing. It's Clark-ing. That goes so very deep. That's an invitation into a wordless space that we all can occupy, because we occupy it right now. It just is. It's an ising thing, an isness. It's a beingness. It's the old I am thing. We all call ourselves I. Can you see the oneness in that? Each and every one of us says I. We're acknowledging our union right there, and we don't see it. It's pretty funny, don't you think? I do. Everything gets to be funny after a while. You start getting amused by things, and that's fun, but not until, for me anyway, not until I got a certain distance back and did this observing thing. I highly recommend it. All right, now, Okay, so in one way we could say there's a part of me that found the truth. And I'm linked up with that. I'm connected. I'm acknowledging, by standing in heart, we can acknowledge our greater beingness, even here in 3D. I mean, body, mind, soul, spirit, what, you know, you put the whole 3D package together, and your subconscious and unconscious could be said to be here with you in 3D. They're accessible here. So, but most of us, unfortunately, are still under the programming that who and what we are is limited to the conscious mind and more or less a left brain orientation to that. Because you can be in the right brain and be in your conscious awareness and have a very different experience. Check out Jill Bolte Taylor's experience, you know, my stroke of insight. It's not an NDE experience, it's the experience of a brain surgeon having a stroke that completely disabled the left side of her brain. And oh my God, there's such a beauty in it that if you don't cry when you listen to her story, you're not plugged into yourself. It's awesome. It inspires awe. It's truly amazing, the beauty of the soul or being as she stands there and shares. And there's a radiation going on. I want everyone to plug into the radiation. Everybody radiates. And this is a part of our seventh sense, our higher sensing. Everybody radiates. And as you're tuning into your bliss, as you're going within, checking out your bliss meter, and letting that be your inner navigation system. Navigate towards greatest bliss in all things. It's also a place from which, instead of a seeing or a hearing or a touching, instead of the five senses, we've got much deeper senses. You know, I could say coming online now. They've been there. It's just that with our outer focus and our little brain going lickety-split, hamster wheeling all the time, we've just been so thoroughly distracted from who and what we are and what it's all about. We've been filled with false ideas about reality, such that it's unfortunately a very great shock when we begin waking up as we approach truth. And as we're finally fearless, more and more fearless, and willing to see, you know, if you love truth, you've made it. Just by that love, you've made it. The only thing between you and it is time, and time isn't real like that. You've made it. Truth will carry you. A love of truth will carry you across whatever finish line there might be. Keeping in mind every finish line is also just a new beginning line. But anyway, okay, so there's a non-searchingness that happens. And I can't tell you when this happened for me. A lot of people have an awakening and they can point to it and they can give you a day and a date and a place and circumstances and all of that. Not me. It's been just, and it's just been a really gradual thing. And I don't feel like I'm ever going to claim that I'm awakened or enlightened because of the eternality of it. There's no end. And that's as if you're claiming some kind of an end. And whatever awakening we achieve, is there not more available beyond that? Would you stop at 5D, at the fifth density, and say, okay, this is it, I'm here forever? I don't think so. We already exist on all the densities and all the dimensions. Why we are experiencing being kind of locked in to a limited range of perception here, I'm not sure. I don't think it's completely natural, which is why I think it's possible that we're being messed with by beings that are more advanced technologically, but not spiritually. Any being that was spiritually advanced, it's hard to imagine how they would want to hold back a race of beings from finding themselves, from their own growth and development. That just doesn't quite click. Not that I know anything, though. You know, we want to be in heart. It covers everything. It'll keep you in that humility that keeps you open. It's the empty cup. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe humility isn't the right word, but you know, none of it. If you watch the NDE stories, you'll see these people fishing for words and doing their best to translate the untranslatable into something that can be shared via words. Well, here's a thought for you, and maybe it'll help. I know there's any number of thoughts that have been helpful to me. See, I don't completely kick out the mind. Truth just is, and you are one with that. There's a part of you that's already there. Look at the people. I mean, all you have to do literally is be out of your body, and you can see it in the NDE experiences of people. Be out of your body, and whatever you think on, if it's a place, you're immediately there. If it's a time, you're there. If it's a person, you're immediately with them. And so there's an immediacy. Everything still exists, but your attention is what brings it to you immediately. And so if you want to know something, suddenly you've been given what amounts to a download. It's not linear. Robert Monroe used to speak, what did he call them? I forget what he called them, but he would get like spears of knowing that it would take him some time to unpackage and figure out. Not a bit linear. And so there's the effort to translate it into the linear, and all we ever get is a reflection, a mirror image, if you will, or like a negative in a photograph of the reality. If you're using words, and if your mind is using words, know that you're being linear. Now, here's the beauty. You're multidimensional. So at the same time that the mind is using words and there's that linear aspect, you're also on higher dimensions. And you can be tuning into that. And so this truth just is. And when you contact your is-ness, your nowness, your now-here-ness, you know, when you fall into the now-here, it's the wholeness of the nowhere. It's the, you know, it's like, I don't know, falling into a black hole. And then where are you? What are you? And so I am truth. We are that. And we know that in our higher dimensional being, we have full access to it. And a certain peace comes. It's nothing that needs to be sought anymore. In our is-ness, somehow we connect with the knowing. that we are that. We commune with it on higher levels. Some of us, when we leave our bodies at night, we go places and we study in etheric schools, if you will. Some of us are kind of MPD, you know, when we're out of the body, we're doing things that are kept from the outer awareness. There's some reason, and good reason, for the outer awareness to be as it is, but the outer awareness, we keep trying to polish it and fix it, you know. Maybe it's like polishing the deck chairs on the Titanic, huh? The outer awareness isn't getting us there. And so the unplugging helps tremendously. The stepping back, the unplugging, the turning the focus within. And somehow along the way, I found that just doing that was enough. And suddenly there's a fullness. There's an is-ness. That your mind will never decode. But there should be a peace in that, you know. The mind doesn't need to keep trying. It's higher parts of you, and they're already there, and they already have it. They already get it. And so we keep unplugging and unplugging. I don't know if this has been helpful. I mean, I can hope. But your bliss meter is a very real sense that you have. And it's telling you, and it's communing from those deeper interior parts of yourself that are in contact, that are connected up with truth. And it is an interior guidance system, and it can be so simple. You can just set the mind aside as far as your awakening goes. Just set it aside. Let it be for your 3D life and everything that's necessary for your awakening. You can safely ignore it and just follow heart. Namaste.